Welcome to the Trash Cats Trashcast. I'm Richard.
I'm Steven.
And today we're opening our market to sell cigarettes to the youths of California. But first, Steven, how was your week?
Dude, I've had a kind of fucked week. So do yours first. We'll circle back.
Okay. Well, Trump was arrested on Tuesday. We all know that.
I was going to say, I hope by the time this comes out, that's true.
Yeah, it's possible.
We're going to get into that in a bit for sure.
I feel like the last few months have all... I mean, the last year, but like the last few months especially, it's like the things are happening. Like,
yeah,
there's someone's pressing charges and it's looking bad, and every day it's looking worse and it's looking worse. And it's like, but nothing's happened.
It was a gangster play for him to announce it, though. Like the Fed, they didn't announce it.
He announced it. Yeah,
he like called their bluff in a way. But the floodgates have been broken, and now Georgia and all these other states are like, Georgia's pressing a fraud to election conspiracy, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to get interesting, but we'll circle back.
Yeah, well, that's fair.
There's a lot going on.
I mean, other than that, my week's been cool. It's been fine. I've been touching up some shit in my house and some housework, and doing drywall over at Keith's place. It's been cool.
You've been in work mode.
Yeah, we started the mudding.
That's the worst.
Which at first I was thinking like, this isn't so bad. And then Keith was like, yeah, well, we got to do this, like repeat layers multiple times. And then like the 45-minute shit on the corners. And it's like, okay, this is going to be a lot more work than I thought it was going to be.
Mudding always destroyed my dreads. And I just hate it so much.
Oh, yeah. Definitely destroyed one of my packaged t-shirts that I paid a couple bucks for, so.
It won't wash out of your shirt?
I mean, I haven't tried it yet. I got a bunch of globs doing the sealing. That was the other thing we fucked up. So I think it was fine. It was probably a smart call in our defense, doing the walls first. Because we thought, okay, we're going to do these walls. They'll be behind a bookcase eventually. Like, this is a good place to practice and like get it together. And that's true. But then by the time it was time to do the ceiling, we're fucking exhausted. We got the ceiling done, and we're like, okay, now we got all the fucking corners. So then that was the next move. And we had to split it up and finish it the next day because the corners were we were done. It's like 10 hours in one day of it. It was...
You had corner seams?
Yeah, like the so there's like the outside corners that you put the fucking metal on, and then the inside corners you put the fucking tape on.
They make those, you can put brackets on it. On
the like exterior like out corners, the ones that are like in the corner of the room, you're supposed to use like a tape.
Mm.
So that's what we did. But I'm sure I had more fun than you. How was your week?
Dude, I've just had a lot of nonsense going on. But I'll start with the good. I went to the art museum. I think last time I went was only like 3 months ago. But I had a blast. I fucking love the Cincinnati Art Museum.
It's a good art museum.
They did have a Georgia O'Keeffe. Keefe? Chief Keef exhibit?
Yeah, exactly. That's where he got his name from.
Yeah. Which you had to pay for, which I was not going to do. But there's like they had the samurai suits. It reminded me of you. I don't remember seeing those before. I might be tripping, but they had like 2 beautiful samurai suits. One was like a darker, like deep browns and like black details. And the other one had like a lot of gold and a little red. And they're just stunning. And then there's like 2 paintings in particular that every time I go, like they're ones that just stay at the museum. And one of them's just my favorite piece of art in person. And I always get super excited to see it. So that was nice.
Hell yeah. They have a lot of like busts and stuff. Always thought that was cool. Those were really good for doing like drawing when we would skip school and go to the art museum and sit down and draw shit. It would be I would usually go to the bust because I was like faces. I don't know. I feel like faces were always harder. Like I can draw the rest of the person, but getting detailed faces that seemed accurate and like a real person, I got good practice from those.
Definitely. Yeah, it's kind of nice to model off statues sometimes.
Yeah, they don't fucking move. You know, so it doesn't fuck up your perspective. They don't gotta sneeze and shit.
But so art museum is cool, but dude, this abdominal pain, it's driving me insane. It's been over a year at this point, and most of the time it's been fine. But dude, some days it feels like I legitimately have a broken rib, and I just like cannot figure out what the fuck it is or what it's related to. So I go to a new specialist this week, or next Tuesday or whatever. So I'm very hopeful to figure out what the fuck is going on, because it is just driving me crazy.
Yeah, that's so shit. It's like it's worse than, I don't know, not knowing what it is.
Yeah.
Like if you know what it is, then you know that like there's a thing you can do for it, or there's not, and you just got to deal with it, like whatever. But at least then you know.
Yeah. That's where I'm at with it. Even if it's something big, small, or anything in between, I just need to know what the fuck is happening. Yeah. You know?
They passed me around when I was having, you know, I still have skin issues, but when it first started, they passed me around to like allergens, and I had like, I know I had one dermatologist that looked at it, and like that acted like they never fucking seen it before, never seen anything like this. And for the longest time, we went with the allergy thing until one day we went to go see a new specialist, and like she walked in the room, kind of took one look at me and was like, yep, it's seborrheic dermatitis. That's what it is.
Yeah. You just got to get in front of the right person.
Yeah. Someone who's not a fucking idiot.
Yeah. Speaking of idiots, these fucking dentists, I have 2 sessions left. I have 14 of my 17 cavities filled. But
hell yeah.
My mouth feels so much better.
Nice.
I can like eat Skittles again.
That's what's most important.
I ate so much candy, I could no longer eat candy. But I'm back in the sugar game, baby.
Back in the candy game, dog. Hell yeah.
So that's been good. But then I'm trying to get off my medication, which
is that recommended?
Yeah, with how long? So I've been on this, which is a partial opiate antagonist for about a decade, on and off. I'm 30 years old, and I've been on opiates of some kind for 14 years, 15 years. So, and I've gone off everything completely, but I do better with the meds, and I've gotten to a relatively low dose, but I need to be off completely, and it's going fine. I've been like tapering. I've gone off before. I know when it's bad, or I'm not doing it well, or I'm doing it well, and it's going fine. I've been doing on this taper for a good while, but I'm not going into like full blown withdrawals or anything, but I just feel shitty.
Mm-hmm.
And it's making it hard to know what the fuck's going on with my body, because there's like, I have multiple things going on, and then like just fucking horrid depression. So it's like I can't tell what the fuck is what anymore.
That's fun.
Yeah,
I like it when symptoms like overlap and you don't know which thing it is, and
dual diagnosis, just mix and match. It's like a pick 4 at Wendy's. You know, you don't know which thing you're getting is going to give you the heart attack, but you know one of them will kill you.
Yeah. You know, it's exactly like a trip to Wendy's. It's exactly what that is.
But doing okay, working on some art, had fun editing the podcast. I'm all right. Speaking of art, you got any honorable mentions? I've been lazy as fuck about them lately.
Shout out to Banquet TV Dinners. It's a half your day's worth of sodium in one small, easy to eat portion. I bought some months ago when I was like in the depression mode and it was like, I just need something easy.
When everyone else was hoarding toilet paper.
Yeah. I'm over here with all the banquet meals. You need your turkey. You need your turkey and peas meal, dog. I got you. They had I'd had them in my freezer for a while, and since I've been fucking with the oven and my kitchen's kind of been a mess, I haven't been using the stove. And I was looking for something to eat. I wanted a hot meal, and I found that in the freezer. And I put it in the microwave only to read the nutritional facts and realize it was 58% of your recommended sodium.
Do you know how many milligrams? How much salt is that?
I didn't look at that part. It's a fucking lot. It's a fucking lot of salt for what is a small portion. It is. I'm sure it's a regular food size portion, but it's not a lot of food.
Americans eat on average 3,400 milligrams of sodium per day. However, the dietary guidelines for Americans recommend that adults have less than 2,300 milligrams per day.
Yeah, that tracks.
So these meals have something in the range of like over 1,000 milligrams of salt.
Yes.
Damn, that seems a bit high.
Fucking intense. And it's like, yeah, they're good, but they're not that good. I don't know. But yeah, shouts out to banquet, meals. Hell yeah. No, that's all I got.
Okay.
What dumb shit do you have?
Well, James Jean, we've mentioned him before. I've been a fan of his work for a long time. Some of it a lot more than others, but he recently did a new piece called Sanctuary. It's on his Instagram, James Jean Art, and it has two of the prettiest tigers I've seen in a long time. Neon tigers that are just fucking gorgeous. They're in the I don't know what you call it. You see it in tattoos all the time, the Asian style tiger, but with his like modern style that are just absolutely gorgeous.
They're very pretty. It's almost because of the size too. It looks like they're like kittens.
Yeah,
like baby tigers.
There's like a fierceness to them, but they're so adorable. It's hard to take the threat too seriously. Mm-hmm. I think they're his sanctuary. They're the protectors. Mm. And then I'm going to butcher this name, but I was recently turned on by my brother, Approaching Human, to a new pianist. He's been around for a long time. He's a Russian pianist?
Yeah.
Russian pianist. He's thought of as one...
No, that's what we talked about last week.
Pianist?
Yeah, we talked a whole bunch about Jesus' pianist.
We sure did. He's, if not the greatest, one of the world's greatest pianists of all time. His name's Stanislav Richter.
I think that it's actually, it looks like it's pronounced Sviatoslav.
Yeah, probably. But I like Stanislav because I can remember it. And then lastly, I don't know if you caught this one or not, but John Approaching Human did a Brother Lynch Hung chop and screw called The Butcher Shop War Dub.
Oh shit, I did not see that.
It's pretty gnarly. I'll ask him if we could put it in and see. I'm sure he'll probably, but the War Dub thing is like the electronic musicians, they are challenge each other and you have 24 hours to make the track or remix your track or whatever. So it's Brother Lynch's Sick'em chopped and screwed with some big changes in the instrumentation and beat that are pretty rad.
Well, fuck, man. Now I got to do the rest of this podcast and not listen to that.
We can listen to it.
I mean, you know.
You want to listen to it now?
Maybe just a little bit here real quick.
It's pretty gnarly.
Hello, they put them in the butcher shop and get to mopping up all the blood and get away, escape from the parking lot. The clip, empty, get out and run back to the safe haven and stop. Murder with terror shit in my tape deck, and I wrap them all up in latex like it's safe sex. They call me Mr. rifle, cannibal, wild bill shit. Having niggas busting melodies, yelling like Johnny Gill shit. We about to kill 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 shit. Please up, keep the automatic heated up like oven pilots, see no evil. And while motherfuckers take music shots at me, I got the semi-lock and load up, put them in the butcher shop and get to mopping up all the blood and get away, escape from the parking lot, the clip, and dig it out and run back to the safe haven and stop. Murder with terror shit in my tape deck, and I wrap them all up in latex like a safe sex.
Yeah.
All right, so I made a. I didn't have a SoundCloud account. I just made a SoundCloud account so I could like that.
Hell yeah. Oh, fucking SoundCloud keeps playing shit.
Yeah, fuck yeah. Nice work, John.
Should we get to the work at hand?
Yeah, so
should kids smoke cigarettes?
Absolutely, yes.
Should we be allowed to give them cigarettes, sell them cigarettes, and should they be allowed to smoke? And why, are we wondering?
So here's the point. Here's the real point. Kids should be allowed to smoke only because we need a market to sell our cigarettes to. So in the state of California, it just passed a ban where, from the language of what I found, it says tobacco, the sale of tobacco will be prohibited to anyone born after whatever the date was in the year of 2007. So basically, if you can buy cigarettes now, that's dope. But anyone born after that will not be able to buy. Like anyone, like say if you're like, oh, I think it's 21 there to smoke or to buy cigarettes.
Which is trash. Ohio just did the 21 too.
That's goofy. So by if you're 20, that means next year you will not be able to buy cigarettes. If you're...
It's so whack.
Yeah. So like that's... And I think it's... That math doesn't work out. If it's by 2007, then that means that
we get it.
You got some time. But yeah. The point is there's a cutoff, and they're not going to continue selling cigarettes to people. And the idea is that, to keep new generations from getting addicted to cigarettes, which I think, honestly, it's about time, I guess. It's like...
It's a good thing in theory, but
it's
bad that they're doing this.
I mean... I feel like when I was younger, one of the things that we talked about all the time was like, how come weed's illegal, but cigarettes aren't? Like cigarettes are so bad for you and you can just get them all the time. And it doesn't matter if you're underage, you can get cigarettes. Like it doesn't matter. So
you said that backwards, but yeah, weed was illegal in cigarettes.
Yeah. Sorry. So if like, why aren't cigarettes illegal, but weed is like, they're way more addictive and shit like that. Like there's a whole, we would talk about that all the time. And I mean, I get it. I think it's, there's still going to be ways to get cigarettes. There's not like, these people are going to be without the ability to ever get cigarettes. But what that does mean is that by the year 2073, you're going to have to be 67 years old to buy a pack of smokes.
The reality is it means there will be far less underage children or young adults smoking cigarettes in the state of California.
Right.
Now, what's interesting is vaping has a big impact on this. And then there's also two other precedents at play. When we were younger, they banned all the smoking in bars. And that was a big deal in defining
that's right.
how America looked at smoking. And since the numbers for adults that smoke are radically lower, not just because of that, but in general, the amount of smokers has plummeted. Outside of going to a bar, you don't see that many people smoke compared to 20 years ago. The other really interesting comparison is just this week, Canada did a sudden ban, the same style. You can no longer buy pistols in Canada.
Yeah, I did see that.
Yeah, if you have one, it's grandfathered in. They gave a little bit of notice ahead of time, and then after that, no more pistols were being sold. And the reality is both, whether it's guns, cigarettes, whatever, it has good impacts. Like, these are things like society has decided, or our leaders at least have decided this for a reason, and it will systemically make a change and difference that affects people's lives, trickle down, all that bullshit. I still think it's disgusting.
It's because it's a rule.
It's personal freedom. Like, why the fuck can anyone tell me I can't smoke something? Why can anyone tell me I can't have a piece of metal in a certain shape that does something?
Right.
I just hate it so fucking much.
So let me throw this in. It actually it hasn't passed yet. It's being considered. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. I thought that it had been a past thing.
There's one state that already has done something like that. I think in Massachusetts.
A city in Massachusetts. Yeah. Not even all of Massachusetts, just a city. Yeah.
Which makes it hard to see the results when it's a city or state. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the issues that they're looking at is like they don't know. What they do know is that
it corrupts the data. Yeah.
So what they did was first they banned like flavored tobacco, including menthol. Mm-hmm. And what they noticed was a gigantic increase in menthol tobacco sales around the city, right. Which means, people are still going to go somewhere. They're still going to get tobacco. Like that's a known
You're just
thing.
inconveniencing people who favor menthol at that point, which there's a lot of other social implications when you do something like that too.
When we were young, we had a place we could go to underage and buy cigarettes. Mm. We would usually have to pay somebody though, like someone who's 18 or whatever to go buy us some cigarettes. What that does is that makes it harder. That's going to make it harder, not so much in the next, if they were to pass that this year, it won't make it so much harder in the next 3 to 5 years, but anything beyond that. Because we hung out, we knew older people when we were younger, but we weren't, at least I wasn't hanging around 30-year-old people very often enough for it to be this is my cigarettes connection. I knew some that would be friends of my friend's parents or something that would be at a party or something. And but they're not hanging out with us. They're not our friend that they're going to go buy us cigarettes all the time. So I think for kids in high school, I think the idea that this helping to cut out to prevent the addiction before it starts, I think it's another, their heart's in the right place thing. It's it
I
sucks.
don't care if their heart's in the right place. I don't want them to take something from me.
Well, no one's taking anything from you.
They're taking it away from kids, and I stand with the children, okay? I'll be the voice of the youth if I have to.
Steven's going to be the 67-year-old man buying cigarettes for the kids.
Cigarettes for... That was always my thing.
Just throwing them out outside the fucking elementary school.
If I ever became a millionaire, I hit the lottery, make it big, I'm buying pounds of heroin and cartons of cigarettes and razor blades, and I'm making little packets of cigarettes with heroin and razor blades and just distributing them all over the city, throwing them from my car.
Fucking a bunch of needles and shit.
Absolutely. But there's no fucking reason. I don't care how many kids have to die of throat cancer for me to be able to smoke as a teenager. Why the fuck should anyone be able to tell you that you can't do something just because it's bad for you?
Now, here's the thing that I was looking into. That's you can still find a way to get a hold of something and do it.
But that's not how evaluating a law works. You can't say, you could do it illegally. We're talking this is the path our society has shown us. You either can or you can't have something. It's not it's going to mostly work, but we can get around it.
So let me bring up an older argument of ours. I forget where you landed on this. I think I know where you landed on it, but I forget what the final stance was. So let's say you wanted to get your fucking arm chopped off as a body mod. Mm-hmm. It's illegal to do that, but...
Shouldn't be.
Yeah, that's what I figured.
Yeah.
The thing is, I think that it's making a choice.
I mean, we're not even saying you can be a full-grown adult. Like, I don't agree with it, but I do understand making drugs, alcohol, tobacco, like you have to be 18. I don't really even agree with that, but I feel like that's like a slightly acceptable line to draw. But to say now, you could be 44, you could be 50 years old, and the state of California is going to tell you you're not allowed to smoke a cigarette. That's
just the thing. No, you can smoke a cigarette. You can't buy cigarettes.
But
you can't buy
it's the same thing. This is the pipeline to full criminality in smoking. I mean, that's what it is. It's going to be, at some point, no cities, no states are selling it. Like, if they had it their way, it's not like they would want you to get cigarettes from another state. Like, this is like what the future is going to look like at some point, where most places are going to ban smoking completely.
Now, here's a thing that I looked into was it from the language of what I found. It says the sale of tobacco products. It would not include like certain cigars. Like you would have to get like regulation on that. But the
how
cigars
disgusting is that though? How disgusting is that they're going to pick and choose which forms they want to criminalize?
And it wouldn't be like sources of nicotine. I couldn't find that kind of language where it wasn't like patches, gum, the fucking snus. I guess the snus is tobacco, but like the nicotine pouches, I don't know what that would be. It
depends on if they use natural or synthetic nicotine. That's normally how they break it down. Is if it's derived from tobacco or if it's lab made.
So then the other one would be like vaping. Like vaping's not inherently a tobacco product. So what does that mean, right?
Most juice is made from tobacco until recently, since all these bans have came about, that companies have gone hardcore into nicotine salts, which are made in labs because they can get around the illegality of having vape juice coming from tobacco itself.
Fun. But looking that up, trying to find that language also led me to find where is the other, like, where else does nicotine come from naturally? It can't just be tobacco, right? Like,
pretty sure it mostly is.
Mostly, the tobacco's definitely number one. I think I told you number two, but it was a week ago, so I don't know if you remember or not.
No.
It's potatoes.
Oh, yeah.
Potatoes would be anything in the nightshade family that includes eggplants and tomatoes as well. But also potatoes. That's why they're so fucking good and addictive, and that's why everyone loves potatoes so much.
That can't be.
It fucks with your dopamine levels, which is why you love those fucking McDonald's French fries with the sugar
I'm calling cap. What amount of potato? How many pounds of potatoes would it take to extract
to feel the nicotine?
Yeah, a cigarette's worth of nicotine. We're talking. This is like the myth of banana dime. We probably need like 10 tons of
myth of banana dime.
to get one cigarette.
I mean, yeah, I'm sure.
Dude, but why the fuck shouldn't kids be allowed to smoke? I'll even farther this. Why the fuck shouldn't kids be allowed to vote? Are they slaves? Do they not have a voice in this country?
Okay.
They're not allowed to smoke. They can go to war, but they can't vote for things.
When's the last time you hung out with a grade school age kid?
I feel like this is a trap question.
So I'm just going to avoid it and sidestep it.
What's his name? The pedophile hunter walks out of my living room.
Chris Hansen.
Fucking Chris Hansen. What are you doing?
Kids shouldn't be allowed to
probably
vote.
anytime recently.
Kids should not be able to vote.
I think they should, no matter how young they are. Why the fuck shouldn't they?
Their stream of logic and their organization of their of what makes sense in their heads. I mean, honestly, if kids could vote, we'd have more policies, more politicians coming out like, and I'll give you a free pizza day on Wednesdays.
No, here's the real thing is pretty much most kids up till a certain age are going to vote for whatever their parents tell them.
Yeah.
And then as teenagers,
True.
they may do the opposite. But the reality is most of those kids are not going to vote, right? But the thing is like we have generations of people who have no engagement into politics before they're No, I am so fucking serious. I've gone so deep in this debate because there is no reason you shouldn't have prior engagement with our political system.
That I agree with.
Prior to being an adult. And how else do you do that?
You should, yeah. No,
why does a 17-year-old not deserve a voice in our country?
There's a lot of things that we don't teach kids until they're old enough to do
Sex, taxes.
Yeah, taxes is the fucking big one. How to like
morality,
how to like
psychology.
balance a budget.
Yeah.
In general, like that kind of shit. Yeah.
Why shouldn't a 17-year-old
actual life skills?
Why shouldn't a 17-year-old be able to smoke while they fill out their ballot? Tell me that.
Well, because it's inside, Stephen.
So? Let's say they're outside. They're filling their mail-in ballot.
The outside voting booth.
They're
fucking wind's blowing around all the paper and shit.
They're smoking a big stogie right after taking a lunch break at school while they fill in their mail-in voting ballot. Why shouldn't a 17-year-old be allowed to do that?
I don't think kids should vote. Mostly because I think kids should be aware of the process of which because that's the other thing is like the arbitrary age of 18 is goofy, right? Like
absolutely.
You could probably convince me that like 17, even 16, you could probably convince me is acceptable. But like
you've fallen right into my trap card. So if we agree with that, why not 15?
When's the last time you hung out with a 15-year-old, Stephen? Do you remember yourself at 15?
Mm-hmm. Very bright kid.
Would you have offered anything good and worthwhile if voting?
It's not about that. The real question is why does a 60-year-old have a more valid voice than a 16-year-old?
Now okay, you're starting to turn me there.
We all have to suffer in this piece of shit country.
I think the obvious answer that people would give is experience, mm-hmm. but there comes a way where experience gives way to progress and new ideas that would give the younger generation the one up in that situation to me.
How does younger people having equality in voting give them an upper hand? Because the reality is right now I'm not saying giving them an upper hand in like life or a situation. I'm saying giving them an upper hand in that argument. I'm saying that I am more because of the idea of progression I'm into the idea of progression as a species, as a people. Mm. So that can only happen if you embrace the ideas of the youth, the people, the new generation, if you give them a voice. And right now we don't let them participate and have a voice.
Well, I mean, it's mostly because they're obsessed with BTS and, that's okay. But, really,
they would make wiser choices than their equal and opposite.
Now, let me ask you this. On
average, who do you think would vote for better, more progressive things? The age bracket of, let's say, 10 to 16, or the age group of 85 to 91 or whatever?
Oh, the younger, for sure, I would agree with.
So why should we let them vote?
But then also, there's also the problem where it's like, there is a larger quantity of kids that are going to be voting for whoever the fuck their parent tells them to. Mm-hmm. And
it's our job as adults to lead those children the right way.
So that's where it's like, if they don't have the outside,
we would have a whole
education on that.
There'd be a ton of kids voting for Trump, and it would get super gross really quick. Because the best argument against it is that politicians would be appealing to children for votes.
Yeah.
I see some argument there. And
I don't know, man. Free pizza day on Wednesday sounds pretty dope.
And I'm making the argument, right, this is like an abortion debate. Like, you want to make the argument as extreme as possible to find middle ground. I don't necessarily think 5-year-olds should be allowed to vote, but I don't think it should be limited at fucking 18 or whatever. So, like, you have to fight for it as extreme as possible to try to get the voting age dropped at all.
Yeah, it's like dropping the harsh news before you give the bad news.
Yeah.
It's like it's not as bad, but it cushions the blow.
But I think from a like fundamental place of equality, I don't understand how we can say a senile person who can't drive, can't read, and drools in front of the TV all day has a more, because they've lived longer, can have a decision what happens in our country, but a 17-year-old can't. A 16-year-old, a 15-year-old.
I'm definitely I thought when I was younger, it seemed foolish that I was able to have a job and pay taxes, but I couldn't vote.
Or could go die in a war that year, you know?
Well, I mean, like, I'm talking about when I was like 15.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I could have a job where I paid federal taxes and like my money's going to the government, but I'm not allowed to vote on what it could be used for, or like state taxes and shit. I'm not allowed to vote on what that goes to.
Think about how stressful high school is. How can you say a high school kid is not allowed to have a cigarette and de-stress once in a while?
Mm-hmm.
You know how stressful grade school is?
You know how many people we know that are addicted to cigarettes? I mean, nicotine in general, but
nicotine
started from smoking then.
Yeah, it's terrible, right?
Yeah, it's rough. It's the worst.
But we're humans. We're allowed to make terrible decisions.
Yeah, and then when you're spending, at least $5, some people smoke a fucking pack a day.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking, what is that, like $7 a pack of smokes now? Like,
well, it shouldn't be that expensive, first off. But why shouldn't we be allowed to make bad decisions? Why should other people be allowed to tell us they know better? Like, I feel like if you say...
That's experience.
Sure, but I feel
maybe not know better, but I know how this turns out. Something I've said to you before, where no good story of a person's life starts out with, and then I started using heroin.
More and more I've thought about that take, and I disagree stronger and stronger.
Really?
Yeah.
Now you've met and you've been to government facilities where these people are going that have not started out, but like
they all
gone down that
died.
path.
Yeah. I'm like, the thing is you never can say like, oh, you made it out, because most people, like, even if they're 5 years sober or whatever, like tons of people, the majority of people still like relapse and die within the 10 years.
You openly talk about going back to using heroin if you can get it. Like,
sure.
For real heroin.
And it's less than like 4% of people get sober, basically. But think of, I've had plenty of fun nights or stories I could start with, and then I was using heroin. But more so, heroin's bad, drugs bad, right? Whatever.
Yeah.
Let's say all drugs are that likely to kill you, right? That only 4% of any substance users will make it out and have a normal, productive, whatever life, right? Let's say only you smoke weed, 96% chance you're dead that year.
Yeah.
I don't give a fuck. You should be allowed to do that. And the 4% of people that go through that experience and live through it are I hate the idea, or when people say like, you're better for it, you're stronger for it, because it doesn't necessarily make you stronger, whatever, but it makes you who you are. Like, I don't feel like you can just say, hey, we know that's bad for you. We're not going to allow you to live your journey or go through what you need to go through. Like, I think it's the symptom, not the problem, right? The fact that this many people go die on this drug knowing it's very likely to kill them. They've watched it destroy their communities, and their friends are all dying, and they're still doing it, right?
Mm-hmm.
The problem isn't heroin. It's what's leading people to use heroin knowing they're going to die, right? The problem with the kids smoking is not that they started smoking. Granted, there's some cases of just pure addictive substances that hook people, but that's almost never reality.
So in that situation, if they didn't have access to heroin,
they might have a better outcome. But that's freedom. I want to live in a world where I can get a gun and fucking inject heroin in my neck. If I have enough money, I can buy a fucking satellite or get on a rocket ship and go to the moon. I want a world with as much fucking freedom as possible, where I can do whatever the fuck I want if I have the means, drive, motivation, that I can follow the pursuit of happiness. And even if it's bad for me, or other people who have wisdom know it's not the best choice, or it's going to lead to more suffering or suffering for the people around you, that's the human condition.
Mm-hmm.
We should be allowed to make as many bad choices or mistakes as possible. And the argument that the taxpayer has to pick up some shit, just fuck them, that's just how things shake out. That's what the government's for.
I think that you have the opinion of freedom to a fault is the way I'm thinking it in my head. Because there comes the issue of maybe you want to make that choice, but there are so many people that can't handle that responsibility. And you know exactly
I do
that you've met these fucking people.
And they should die off. The people that can't, that will always make the wrong choice. They're the mouse in the maze, and they'll always get zapped for the cheese, right?
But
it's
let's
sad.
Say they're at a rough place, and they're on the precipice where if somebody were to offer them heroin or to offer them, a substance, we'll just say a substance,
sure, yeah,
then they would be more likely to take it. But if they don't, then maybe they have it. They statistically stand a better chance of doing something that brings them happiness, that brings them a life where they're not addicted to a thing.
I agree. I think first off, in some ways, drugs, or heroin specifically, sucks for this conversation because heroin has changed so much. And if the world was full freedom mode, how I would prefer it to be, we wouldn't have these fucking elephant killing drugs for pennies. This is things have already spiraled to such a fucked place that it is almost impossible to ever have it even out again with hard drugs specifically. But I do take your point that the more free, let's say every kid in America is given a gun right at birth.
Mm-hmm.
All the grade schools across the country, there's going to be a lot more shooting incidents where some preschooler kills themselves or a classmate, right?
Right.
I don't think we should give those kids guns. I don't think they should necessarily be allowed to have them as a child.
That's what a strong stance you're taking.
I'm a little iffy on it, but
we need to shut down those lobbyists that are putting pistols in the guns of 1-year-old or hands of 1-year-olds.
But I think specifically with whether it's substances, food, sugar taxes, tobacco bans, these are things that, especially as an adult, I think maybe there's modifying factors the younger you get to some extent, that these are things, if let's say you are in that really rough place and someone is trying to prey upon you with that, and they know you're vulnerable and they offer you a very dangerous substance and you take it and die, right? Mm-hmm. Everyone in the world could look at that and be like, this is fucked up. We shouldn't have this many drugs in the community. This drug organization, this gang is responsible. They shouldn't have let you. You fucking chose to take it. And if you died, you died. Like, it's not good. I don't want that to be that way, but that's our fucking choice.
I have some conflicting thoughts in my head because I started thinking of this. You said sugar,
and the sugar taxes that a lot of places are starting.
What I'm thinking is more of along the lines of is the idea of, like, if you look back at like the root of things that cause addictive, or things that can be addictive, sugar is one of the earliest ones that we ever ingest, especially in our country where it's the fucking land of plenty, and our tastes as a country, as a people, is is sweet and salty and like lots of salt and sugar and shit, right? Like, once again, shouts out the fucking banquet meals. So what I'm doing in my head is I'm playing the argument out, but instead of tobacco, instead of heroin, it's sugar. Mm-hmm. If we said like excess amounts of sugar per serving in a thing.
Well, some states are doing an additional tax on the cost of products that have sugar. For each gram of sugar, there's an additional 25 cents, let's say, taxed on that the customer has to pay. Not the restaurant. McDonald's can't offset it. You have to pay X amount for your extra sugar. So you go to buy your soft drink, it might cost $10. That is happening in some maybe not to that extent, but there are that is a thing that happens in some places now, and it's looked at more and more. It's definitely a ton of bans at like schools and stuff, but in general, it's thought of like it's like one of the faux critiques of the new Green Deal shit. Like, oh, we can't eat hamburgers anymore because it's going to be taxed so high. You can't eat sugar. That's like bunk with that specifically. But a lot of that thinking in the sense that, yes, we know excessive meat eating is bad, right? All these cows fucking up the fucking world and shit. All the methane, whatever. We can't afford it. Sugar's going to give everybody diabetes and heart attacks and shit. I think more people should eat vegan and have less sugar, but I don't think it's my right to tell another human being that they're not allowed to. And that because they want to, we should tax them for it. Imagine like me and you are at my house and you want a soda and I'm drinking water and I say, dude, that stuff's really bad for you. And you're like, hey, but I want it. It's the same cost. And I say, no, if you want to drink soda at my house, I got to extort you an extra $1. If you pay that, then you can have it. That's fucked.
I mean, be a shitty friend, but
I want a better friend of a government.
Here's the thing that I look at, and I look at it like, if it's properly organized, if it works the way it should, the taxes that are placed on things that make people sick and give people health problems
will go towards cures and treatment.
We'll go towards, you know, the Medicaid and shit that they will inevitably need when they have emphysema and diabetes.
But it doesn't work that way. This is some of the wisdom I will say I get from my, to this day, Catholic Republican mother. This is something I can say she has helped me understand, in a sense, that while I may disagree with pretty much every fucking position she has, the less power you give to people, the better. Right? As soon as you tell, your city, your state, your government, that they can make you pay extra for sugar, that you're not allowed to eat meat, that you can't smoke, you give that shit up forever. It's like the fucking Patriot Act. Like, you don't get rights back. That tax money is not going to be used to help those medical bills.
And that money's gone. It's not going to be enough, and it's going to increase. And so that's helping your cause. It's only helping your cause that it does change things, in my opinion, of like, it's food, it's whatever. This is the way we're used to having it, but it's also, I'm conflicted because this is the way things always have been, is a bad argument.
What's your favorite food?
Also, the Japanese food, which honestly, they use a lot of sugar.
Japanese food.
They use a lot of sugar in Japanese food.
So what happens when Detroit bans Japanese food tomorrow?
I mean, that's racist.
No, they say, hey, we have a political conflict with Japan, and we don't want any money going to their food, so we're banning all of it. And you know it's a bogus reason. It's obviously bogus.
So I move away from Detroit. If it's Detroit, see, here's where if you came out and you said, instead of making political, if you came out and you said, we have studies that shown that whatever traditional Japanese, like soy sauce, whatever, will
fuels the emperor.
Yeah, decreases your life expectancy by 25 years or something like that. Like if they were to come out and say, like, we have figured out the 12 leading causes of death in the United States, and
they're all soy sauce.
It's all soy sauce. Fucking heart disease, Alzheimer's, kidney disease, suicide. It's all fucking
too much soy.
Too much soy sauce. If they came out and said that, no, yeah, it's like the sugar thing to me. It's like, it's food though, and it's like I want to make that choice to eat that thing. So yeah, no, you got me already.
Oh, shit.
No, you got me on the last argument already. It's like if you put it into different terms, it's like
this.
I think what it is. I'm like trying to think of like, what's the solution then? Like, what's the solution?
Is we let people die.
What is the solution to? Like, people are going to die.
Yeah.
But what's the solution to try to persuade people that, are still in formative years, still in whatever, to reconsider more?
Better role models.
That's a huge one.
That's all there is better leadership. These adults fail, right? Our parents' generation, not our parents, but our parents' generation as a whole, failed. They failed. They fucked up every political system. They destroyed all of the infrastructure, and they taught us nothing we needed to know. Yeah. They failed. And that's such a wide thing to be like, oh, it's the only solution. But all you can do is affect the people around you. And I think we have to do better of educating kids or young adults on how to make better decisions for themselves. Outside of that, you just have to let people die.
I got news for you too. A really bad role model can help too. My niece and nephew in particular are heavy against the idea of drugs and alcohol because their mom was a fuck up and was hooked on shit. So they have taken the stance of oh no, that's bad for you. No, I'm not interested. For a while, when my nephew got his own room, even he was like, no one's allowed to have beer in my room. You're not allowed to bring beer in my room. If we're hanging out and whatever, and we go up to see what he's up to, you can't come in his room if you got a beer in your hand.
Which is based, but
yeah, I was all right, hell yeah, dude. Set your boundaries.
But if you limit it to bad role models.
No, I don't know limited to that, but that can definitely cause an influence as well.
Sorry. Give me 1 sec. I just heard a noise. Sorry. Be right back.
Oh, Steven's going to have to cut somebody. It's the Pete Hill Bandits. The P Hill potty mouths out here. That's what we should have called the podcast. The P Hill potty mouths. Can't wait for Stephen to hear this. Then we're going to find out if he leaves it in. Probably just a cat. Or a raccoon.
Sorry.
Didn't have to shoot anybody?
No, I did. I killed him.
Okay, cool.
Robert's dead.
No, he's dead. It's fine.
No, what I was going to say, if you limit the scope to a bad role model can be good. There's some truth to that. But 99.9% of the time, that's not true in the sense that your niece and nephew specifically, right? They had other good role models.
Yeah, that's very true.
Without that support, and even still with the additional good role models, even though they might hardcore be against the idea of like making some of those same mistakes, they're still at a higher like propensity of it being an issue later in their life.
Yeah. Yeah. I made it a point not from a super young age, but like from the time that the oldest one was like around the age where I started smoking weed and partying and like thinking about the shit, like from the time that the oldest one reached that age, I kind of sat them both down. They were in the back of my car. I was taking them to get Skyline, and we're talking about the
on the way to the booze shop,
Yeah, I was like, I forget how it organically came up talking about like alcohol or something, and I was like, they asked me like why I drank and stuff like that, and it was like, some people have a lot of have issues with it. I have before, but I don't really like anymore, and I don't do it very often anymore. And we got talking about drugs and all this stuff. Like, honestly, if you're ever not sure of something and you don't want to talk to your dad about it, you don't talk to like your aunts and whatever, like I'm just a phone call away. Like peer pressure's real. You're going to experience it at some point, but it's, like if you have questions about that kind of stuff, you can always talk to me. I'll never lie to you. I'll tell you the truth about whatever you want to know, and I'll put it to you straight. And I neither one of them's ever reached out to me about it, but
they know. They know.
Yeah, and I felt like that was important to me, because I'm not going to lie and be like, no, drugs are bad. You can't ever do drugs. Because I also didn't have that growing up. I had family that was like, like I knew certain members of my family smoked weed, and my mom, I remember her telling me specifically that when she was young, that's what her older sisters did for her, where they were like, if you ever want to like do something besides weed, if you want to do any drugs or anything like that, come to us and we'll do them together. And then later on in life, she asked them like, what would you have done if I'd come up and said like, I want to do this, I want to do that? And they're like, I probably would have talked you out of it. But they wanted her to like come to them first instead of like going out with a bunch of fucking other dickhead little kids and doing fucking coke in their, friend's bathroom, and then someone drinks and drives them home, or, whatever. We've all been there.
Yeah. I snorted heroin in a priest's home one time.
Hell yeah.
That's cool. Do we shift the politics?
Just hard drop. End of the podcast right there. Yeah, like, what are you thinking?
I think there's some interesting things going on. You mentioned the drone being shot down.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Russia took down our drone, and some people didn't know exactly how to take that.
Well, there's two really big things happening, right? This might be the first time ever. It's still a big maybe if we have a U.S. president get charged with a criminal offense, and the repercussions and how that plays out. Do you have him go to a prison? Pretty unlikely. Probation, ankle monitoring, still pretty unlikely. If he were to go to prison, do you send Secret Service with him? All kinds of major questions. And the reality is they may never charge him, or he might beat his case. But now that one charge is going through, multiple other charges are on the horizon, and he has a fleet full of civil cases and shit going on too. But at the same time this is going on with Trump, we have Putin, who now has I forget, what was it called? He has a criminal arrest warrant by I don't know if it's the UN.
Yeah, that's what I understood to be.
So he can't leave Russia, or he's tried with war crimes. So right now we have essentially what were the two biggest powerhouse leaders of the world potentially tried as criminals now, which is really good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think also very dangerous and volatile. There's a lot of bad that can come from this too. The precedent that we hold our leaders accountable is very good. But also, if we convict Trump, right?
Mm-hmm.
What happens when President DeSantis is in office and he wants to get rid of his enemies? And I think in a lot of ways, Republicans and Democrats had to come together in a lot of ways to be willing to even charge a president, to charge Trump. I think there's a lot of strategic shit happening that Republicans are willing at this point to sacrifice Trump to consolidate power. Like, this is the biggest.
Oh yeah, I'm sure of that.
Boost in the polls, or like rallying call to the right wing possible.
Now, here's the thing: is I think that I know the MAGA Republican percentage is much lower. Yeah, they're much lower than they used to be, and
that's not.
I know
it's gone up and down, man. I don't think that's definitive yet.
I feel like the Republicans that are excited about the consolidation of power are the people that are like
over MAGA.
Well, but it's like the people that are in, that are actually like politicians, people that are seeing it for that, or people that are seeing it for the political party, not just people that are like Republicans for Trump. It's like sure. that kind of thing is the average. I don't think the average voter is concerned about that as much.
From what I've seen on every Republican polling thing, is that basically there's a massive overlap in support between DeSantis and Trump's audience. So depending on what's happening that week, it may look like one of them has taken the lead by like 10 points or by a lot, right?
Yeah.
But it keeps shifting back and forth. Like, there's no clear, decisive stat that says more people want to go with DeSantis than Trump. Like, it's gone back and forth. It depends on what's going on that week and what they said last. And I think at any point, Trump still could pull a lot of power.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm definitely in the camp that the Democratic Party needs somebody besides Joe Biden.
Yeah.
I think,
And not Marianne Williams or whatever.
Who?
The spiritual chick that ran last time. That had
I don't remember.
Marianne Williamson or whatever. She's like kind of hippie-ish. She got 1% of the vote. She said she has some good points. And she got a really rough time of it on the last election. But she's also a bit cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. And she's done a like full news speaking thing, like rehab. And she's coming across way better. But it's still not good. But she is looking to be like the next big Dem.
We don't need a spiritual leader.
No. Not at all.
We got plenty of gods in this country as it is.
But it is interesting. I think we should hold our leaders accountable, but if we set that precedent now, there's some really scary possibilities, right? Like another Red Scare, another.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, that is one of the things I do look at from the younger people that I do, that when I do have conversations with the younger people, even like 5 years younger than me, I feel like they are so much more about holding people accountable to their words and actions. They're more concerned with that than they are about the political agenda, I feel like, for the most part. I mean, as long as it's not like fucking wild, banning information and, shit like that, like banning racist shit like that. Like that's a whole different thing. But the holding people accountable for their actions, I think, has become such a high priority in the last fucking 3 years, really.
Well, I feel like just our whole lives, we've never seen anyone held accountable or have justice for what has happened in our political lifetime, right?
Yeah, it was always like, oh yeah, they're politics, they're crooks, and like everyone just it's a joke, and everyone laughs it off, and it's like, why is that a joke? Why is that a thing that we're just cool with?
I think in a lot of ways it's right. Like each generation sees less injustice on a day-to-day basis in a lot of ways, right? Not that there's still massive inequalities in so many ways, but on a day-to-day basis, like America treats people with a higher base level of respect than they did 50 years ago, 100 years ago.
For sure. Yeah.
There's less like blatant racism, classism, sexism, right? There's still massive problems, but everyone is closer to an equal playing field than we were 100 years ago.
Right.
So these things that we see in the news, in politics or whatever, I think more and more it's like, hey, that's really unfair. And some of that is like I think it could be looked at as like a greater responsibility being held, and then some of it, like from a bitter perspective, could be looked at as like a spoiled perspective, like, oh, things are so easy.
Yeah.
You want to hold our leaders accountable? Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I look at it like it's like an infected wound. It's like we're working on the wound as a whole. We're getting all the kind of larger issues that are like, keeping it from spreading. We're stuffing some tissue in there, and we're seeing parts that are fucked up, and we're like, oh wait, while we're here, let's nip at this. Let's fix that. Let's fix, now that we're getting to a better place as a whole, we can focus on the smaller, we've stopped the bleeding. Now let's look at
clot it up.
Yeah.
I think in one way that's really true. Like things are better. Over lifetimes, things get better. Nothing changes quickly. Things do get better over time. But things are very volatile still. And I've never been the conspiracy shit or like I don't think a civil war is right around the corner. But things are volatile. And I think there is still an element of like, it wouldn't take that much for things to fail either. Like we have banks failing all the time. We have industries failing. We're like always, a handful of poor decisions or accidentally shooting down the wrong drone or starting the wrong war. We're always kind of teetering towards the void too. I don't know. The next coming years in election, what happens with Trump, unfortunately, is going to shape things a lot. What happens with Putin, what happens with Ukraine. There's a lot of things that are kind of like in the air right now.
Yeah. Sorry, I just kind of got lost on a list of the potential candidates running for office in 2024, and boy, let me tell you, there's a lot of Democrats, a lot of Republicans on here. Even you get down to like the rumored, it's almost all Republicans. There's like,
what do you mean? There's just more Republicans running for shit?
Yeah, running for presidency. There's a few.
Well, that doesn't mean anything, though.
Right, exactly. I just mean like I'm looking at choices of like people that are potentially running. What that means is like the choices that you have to choose from. Yeah, and almost all of them.
That doesn't mean anything, though.
I mean, it means that there are what I'm trying to say is there is not a lot of Democratic options. Even the ones that are listed here, a lot of them are just rumored. It's not that they're confirmed or anything like that.
But
yeah, what I'm saying is there are not a lot of options of other candidates besides Biden that would make sense as a potential like, people are going to vote for this person. Because the only other person I saw on here besides Biden and Marianne Williamson is
it is incredibly rare you don't have a sitting president be the nominee. I mean, he is old,
but also he's 80 years old.
But he's
in a lot of people,
my
including
boy Biden, is standing.
He's
strong.
doing fine. But there is a majority. I don't know the majority. There's a lot of people in the Democratic Party that would even agree that like we could probably use somebody that's not 80 fucking years old.
I don't think there's a if anything, it's choosing the right VP. They're not gonna. Yeah. We're not gonna pick someone else. You lose all momentum. I mean, it would be think how hard it would be. Let's say Trump beats all of his cases and has the rallying cry with him. Think how hard it is for Biden to beat Trump. Or DeSantis. Imagine if we have a Marianne Williamson or a Kamala Harrison. No fucking shot. There's no option but to run with Biden.
Did you just say Kamala Harrison?
I did. Kamala Harris. What the fuck is her name?
Kamala Harris.
Yeah, she's a dirty cop rat.
Was she a cop? Is that a thing?
She was a prosecutor.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't know that.
Honestly, she has a mostly good record for a prosecutor, but she's still a little Weasley piece of shit.
Oh, here, rumored Gretchen Whitmer, Big Gretch.
Oh, Big Gretch. I don't know who that is.
That's the governor of Michigan.
Oh, the kidnap victim?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Michiganders fucking love Big Gretch.
She'd get assassinated in a week. We can't have some loser victim trying to...
No, she was not kidnapped. People planned to kidnap her.
Yeah, and she didn't stop it in time.
She did. It didn't happen.
Not close enough. She should have kidnapped them if she was a real gangster, okay? Can't have her being president.
She's not a gangster. She's a governor.
Ugh. I need governor gangsters, okay?
Bring back Al Capone to run the Senate.
I don't know. I think Biden's the gangster we truly need.
Eating ice cream and driving his Ferrari.
All right. I got a last topic.
It's a Corvette. I think it's a Corvette.
We actually talked about this a long time ago, but I don't remember if we quite imagine it getting to this point so quickly. ChatGPT, new AI chat systems, people are using AI chats to talk to their dead loved ones.
Oh, no.
And there's an emerging realm, whether it is knowingly or unknowingly, of digital psychics.
Oh, Jesus.
Now, we've played with the ideas like on Facebook, maybe on the anniversary of a loved one, you could engage in an AI chat with that person. You could run all of their data, messages, and shit through an AI, and maybe every anniversary you could like allow yourself a delusional engagement in a fantasy conversation with a loved one. I think it's interesting, like what that on the psyche, what it would be like to knowingly AI chat a dead person. I could see to some extent, like if you could do that for 2 weeks after someone died or on an anniversary, you could use that as a really interesting healing or coping tool. But if you have a digital psychic pandering you an custom-built AI chat with your dead loved one, paying for time to speak to them, could be incredibly predatory and like festering mental illness. But I think it's interesting and worth considering still.
I liked when, do you remember a while ago, a few years ago, it came out, there was like a filter that came out you could put over pictures and it would like animate like a face. And people were doing that with like photos of like their dead loved ones.
You sounded 70 years old when you just...
Really?
Dude.
Why? What part of that?
Facial animation filters for 10 years.
So, okay, well, then maybe it was 10 years ago. It seems like it was newer. It feels like it was newer. There was at least there was one that was like super accessible.
Makes them look alive.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that.
So it was a trend for a while. People would do that of like putting it over like a dead relative's picture and then like
creepy.
They don't like say anything to you, but for a minute it kind of looks like they're there.
Gross.
And it was cool. I thought that was cool because it was like, it's not obvious, they're not there.
That's
it's not
creepy.
like it's creepy, but you know, like you said, for anniversaries, for like you just lose somebody, that can be very helpful and healing.
I think it should have to show what they actually look like in real time too. So no matter what state of decay they're in, it might show you like, oh, this is what they'd look like alive. And then it's like a jump cut.
Like
yeah. This is what they really like, you stupid fuck.
It's just worms, dog. It's just a pile of ashes. I mean, so I like that, but this seems, I mean, I guess I can see it being used for healing, and it just, because it seems so separate yourself from reality, it doesn't seem healthy. Like, don't get me wrong, I had plenty of conversations with my grandpa after he died, but it was completely one-sided. It was me sitting alone in the back of a bar, alone, you know, like just...
Yeah.
Out loud sometimes, like sometimes it was just in my head, but it helped me process shit.
Yeah. But isn't that how it's supposed to be?
Yeah, but then the idea of having an AI, knowing it's an AI, it's a digital system. I can see where that can help people that are like...
There's therapeutic possibilities for sure.
Yeah, I can see that being a possibility.
I think it should almost have to be led, right? Like to engage in that on your own is just a potentially very damaging outcome.
No, that's like that's how Hereditary kind of went a little bit. It wasn't like talking to, but the communicating with. That's part of that movie.
I don't remember that, but
it was a good fucking movie.
But like a ketamine trip, they don't have people do these ketamine trips to treat their depression on your own. You're supposed to be led through. Like there's ways in which like a potentially dangerous tool in the right setting with a little bit of direction could be like a very healing process.
So you're saying have like a licensed counselor or therapist or something. That is a
licensed necromancer.
Licensed necromancer. They would be your digital medium, if you will.
I see interesting potentials. Like there's the whole argument. Oh man, this is a turnoff to a lot of people. But there was a big internet debate for a long time that what if you could reduce the number of children that are sexually abused by making pedophilic material, child shit available to people that requested it. Mm-hmm. And they would have to like register or monitor, but they could have unlimited weird material to look at. If that reduced the number of children that got harmed, would that be a good thing?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of touched on that with I mean, I've even heard as far as like having like the it's like sex dolls and shit.
Yeah,
like if that could help, then what? You know, but if the argument would also be like, it's making it more seem like more of a reality. It's
more normalized.
Yeah, exactly.
The right amount of stigma is a hard line to.
Right. And then like there's no way to implement that without, you know, learning the hard way.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work, like
high risk, high reward politics, right?
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Fucking shit.
Did we just run out of gas?
The idea of people scamming people out of money based on their grief is.
Well, I kind of like. I know
get where it can come from, and I agree that it can be used, especially with someone who's like a grief counselor or something could help work with that. But to be, you know, charging people to use an AI server, whatever the fuck you're doing, like it's I don't know.
To be clear, I was kind of going more conceptually because the general chat AIs are free or open source, but we know by going into these realms where people are talking, they're loading all their loved ones' data, or like imagine you're a fucking serial killer psycho stalker and you are stalking a woman and you just start putting in, you hack into their Facebook, steal all their messages to everyone, get in their email, and you're making custom built chat bots of them. You're talking to 8 hours.
My custom built long distance girlfriend.
Dude, you can find Discord servers of hundreds of people that are just in communities because they all engage in custom relationships with the chat AI. Right? Like like in the
they fucking advertise them on not custom so much, but they it's like somewhat custom on that kind of shit.
These are huge now.
Your own personal VTuber
with like incel communities and stuff.
Yeah,
it is a really interesting problem or like I don't know, like Pandora's box of like all the benefits that these AIs can do when used the right ways versus all the damaging and like weird psychological harm people are going to do to themselves using like robots and code, basically, you know?
Yeah. It's a problem for another day, I guess.
Absolutely. Another day.
We'll see it. We'll see the long-term effects in a little while, I'm sure.
Just take it one day at a time. Yeah, I think that's just one day.
I think that's a good wrap for today. Thanks again for listening, everybody. Thank you to Approaching Human for the use of his music. You can find his work on SoundCloud at Approaching-Human. Make sure you check out the show page at Trashcats Trashcast and on Instagram for news and art from the show. Make sure you check out Facebook for the memes.
If you're super bored, you can check out my trashy art on Instagram at Skyzix, SKYZICX. And then we shout out James Jean and Stanislav.
I looked it up before. That is not correct.
Tell me.
What's his name again?
Oh my God! Oh, you're gonna correct me and then not know it. Oh my God!
I know it's not right because there is a T in there.
Savantislav.
Santaslav. No, that's not it.
Sloppy Santa, the Russian pianist. You'll find him, guys. Just look up fancy piano.
Yeah, if you type Russian. In you have to type in pianist. You have to type that in, and it'll come up. His last name's Richter.
Yeah.
That helps.
Yeah, you'll find him if you give a fuck.
Yeah. And shouts out to Banquet TV dinners.
Nope.
That's going to be all for us today. Stay classy, eat trashy.
Go fast, eat trash.
Do you think we can get Banquet TV dinners as a Banquet Meals as a sponsored?
Nope.